All right, so I come on here a lot and I talk about, my job. I talk about who I work for and I never say the name. And the reason I don't do that is because of legal problems. So the video today that I want to put out is about making videos. So most of the work I've done, and it was strategically put that way. I mean, it's just strategically is that I worked it that way for later on retirement, was so I would have a captive audience. I wouldn't have to rely on the public. Here, let me explain. So, years ago, I ran around and I shot freelance photography. I owned my own studio for years. But when I decided to start thinking about retiring, I wanted to get involved in something that had a secure income. I could develop a legacy. So I decided to go with making like training videos. So what I did is I picked the first company. I picked a very large company, and I told them, I said, "Hey, I want to come in and I want to shoot training videos for you, but I want to go in and be a part of the process. I'm tired of these videos where bean counters are telling you how it should be done when they really don't know how it is done." So I went to work for a company, a large company, as a field service engineer. Not just a guy traveling around with a camera taking pictures. I went in and did it as a real job for about a year and a half. I went in and really learned. I was raised a plumber, so my dad was a plumber. So it was a niche that I could get into because the company, the industry I work in has to do with electricity, a little bit of medical, a little bit of drinking water, a little bit of gray water, and about 80% of the oil industry. So back to the story. The idea I had is that I would go and I would make training videos for these companies, come up with a training process. Later on when I would retire, I would just consult for them, come back and update the training process because this company was pretty big. The first company wasn't going how I wanted it to. So we finished a big project and I did all the training on it and everything. And when they get through with the big project, we usually go out and have dinner. We have a couple drinks. So we did it in conjunction with the company I work for now. So while we were at this thing, I've got all these ideas I'm talking about. And I get a little bit of drinking and I start running my mouth. One of the guys from the other company, the company I work for now, he was listening. So he heard everything I was talking about. About 3 or 4 months later, I got tired and I quit the main company. Within 3 or 4 hours, this other company gave me a call and let me know that they wanted to give me an offer. And they would give me the platform that I needed to build what I wanted to build. So now again, this company's huge, and it owns other huge companies that own other companies. So the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to build a podcast. I wanted to build a podcast and a newsletter throughout the entire company and their companies and their companies. So that's where it started. Well, while I'm doing training videos for them and safety videos for them, I noticed that they pay a lot of money to have this guy go to these trade shows and talk. A lot of money. They pay for him. They pay for the time for the stage. They pay for his hotel, his eating. A lot of these trade shows last 3 and 4 days. So I start looking into that. I start going, well, they paid all this money and roughly 50 people went to the talk. Then it's ended. I said, why don't you guys record this talk and play it over and over again? Well, the big wigs, they weren't interested. So it came a long time for the trade shows. I took a week off for one trade show. With my own money, I packed up and flew down there, rented my own hotels, paid for my own food, and I recorded this talk, this guy talking. Went back to my hotel room, cut the recording up into little sections, made an intro and an outro to tell them that, hey, so-and-so's going to be here tomorrow for the company again. And put that out that night. So that night, I put posts out on social media that was directed towards the people in the industry at that trade show. So some of them would see it in their feed. Well, the next day when the talk happened, and I was there, probably about 20 more people showed up. So then, boom, this is pretty good. So I ball that up. I come back. I go back to my normal working. Now, this story is to initiate how, if you're making an ASMR video, a training video, any kind of video, always think about other ways it could work, other things you could do with that video. So back to the story. So we come back. A year goes by. I'm doing training videos. This this trade show would come back again, but I've prepared the old video and I've already targeted the people through social media and the industry for that video, and I start showing this video about 2 weeks before with advertisements at the beginning and the end that will be there this year doing another talk. So what happens is emails happen. On social media, people start listening. They start asking, hey, when are you going to be there? Now all of a sudden my company starts seeing this. Oh, wow, we've never had this before. All of a sudden we're getting people asking about when we're going to be there. Now it sparks interest. Now, with the big company owning the other big companies, owning their companies, the podcast I started that is just distributed in that ecosystem is probably was probably about 17,000, 18,000 people were listening. And I was never on it. There was always talks. The only thing I was responsible for, the only thing I did is I created the podcast, and then I marketed the podcast to our closed ecosystem and produced everything from video to copy, the words, speeches, even down to the subject we'd be talking about. And I did all this because of research. What's going on? So meanwhile, all this internal podcast is going well. Well, the next trade show, these guys are like scientists. So they're going to introduce a new process of sampling gray water from an oil field, or drain water, a way of getting rid of some benzene. So when they show up, I have these gloves that are really good. Okay. They're called Venoms. Our suppliers carry that for us. So when he's there doing it, I go, hey, when he's doing up there, I give him a set of these gloves, and he uses them. Now, these are really good gloves. I mean, they're disposable gloves, but one pair will last you all day if you didn't need to take them off. And they're expensive. So I called our distributor and told him, hey, we're going to do this talk at this place. I would like to I'd like to highlight your gloves in this this podcast. I say podcast, but it's a podcasts were developed back when you had a dumb device. Your iPod didn't hook to the internet. You had to go to your computer. That's why it was called a podcast. Now it's just a show. But for reasons, I'll still call it a podcast. So we go back to me talking about the gloves. They kind of laughed it off and shrugged it off. But remember, I've got 16,000 people this time listening to this. So we go up. We recorded the talk, the demonstration. I do the same as I did the year before, or 2 years before, with that night, putting chunks of it up. But I released the whole thing on my internal podcast. 16,000 employees. These guys are watching because it's produced by their company. They see these gloves and they go, wow, and they start ordering them. I get a call from the distributor telling me, don't do that again without telling us. That opens doors up. That's something brand new. So I asked them for a affiliate. Give me, I'll advertise it. You give me a little bit of kickback on it. Through this, I took the podcast and the show, and I funded it with affiliate links to my captive audience, just for my show on my company network. Understand? So where was I? Okay. So I keep doing this, but now I'm funding the podcast, the show, with the money I'm making off of affiliate programs. Because there's different products we use. There's glue they use. There's gloves they use. There's electrical parts. And I start getting sponsors, like not sponsors, but affiliate tags. Now remember, this is just off affiliate marketing. So now my company's starting to see that, wow, this is legit. So they give me the okay. But now I'm traveling to these shows, these talks, these demonstrations they put on for different companies. And I'm using the money that I make with the affiliate to get my hotels food. So the cost is coming from what the podcast is making. Into the year comes, fast forward into the year comes, we're doing budget. They come to me and they go, what do you need for a budget? my budget didn't rise, even though I brought this new chunk of advertisement, of this new chunk of marketing to them. Because now I'm splitting it off and I'm giving them marketing products. And they ask, they go, well, how come you don't have any, how come your budget come out? I said, well, see, I'm running these affiliate programs, and that's paying for what we're doing. So that's a green mark for me. That's an attaboy. That's, oh my goodness. Now, again, when you're making a video, maybe ASMR, anything, always look for other places your video can be used. For instance, Bob Ross, I said this in a video before, he didn't make those, he's the godfather of ASMR, but he didn't make those videos for ASMR. He made them to teach you how to paint. That's kind of what I'm doing. That's the other thing, is I can use an ASMR video to show you something. So, okay, let me make it a little less complicated. I can make an ASMR video right now of me telling you what I did for ASMR purposes, but it's also a marketing video. So if I wanted to, I could actually push this as a marketing video too. Maybe drag some extra ASMR people in that didn't know I was even around, that are into marketing. Now we go back to the story. I'm going to go back a little bit more, even more, how this idea kind of came up. Years ago, I did a video for a guy that was, he trains horses. And he gathers these people up and he takes them out to this ranch, and they spend the whole day there. And he teaches them about horses and different stuff on like a dude ranch, like on the ranch through the day. He cooks lunch in the middle of the day, and he cooks delicious stuff, but he does it like a chuck wagon style. Well, he wasn't getting many people coming, so he was charging like $100 for the day, and he fed them lunch. Well, that's crazy. So a friend of mine hooked me up with him and said, hey, Les, can you help him out? I said, well, yeah, I will. So we had the next one. I went along and checked it out, and I filmed some stuff, and I filmed him making this lunch. It was delicious, and he does it all over campfire, and like I said, like a chuck wagon, like a dude ranch kind of style, and the stuff was delicious. He even made the bread and everything right there. I filmed that. I filmed some of the stuff he was doing. We're all done. I estimate probably about 10 people came. That's $1,000. It cost him more than that to do that. I made a video for him on the cooking. So I made a video about him cooking, but the intro, coming into the video and going out of the video, he was talking about what he was doing. Hey, we're here learning about horses, yada yada yada. And what we do every time we have every time I have one of my my classes, my shows, my whatever you want to call it, my play day, I cook lunch, and here's what I cook for lunch. Boom. And he makes the lunch up. Remember, we do this every time we have a show going out. I made him a short video, probably about 10 minutes long. So 10 people the first time, if it was that. I had him put it out. I just had him distribute it. Told him when to distribute it. Came up with a copy that we talked about, because I took the video and then had him voice over what he was doing later, because that would take a lot of time, because he's not used to doing that. So he'd have to read a script. We had to make it, we had to go through all the stuff. But we got it sounding pretty good, pretty lightened up. Then I told him, okay, we're going to put this out here in these groups, these horse groups you're in. And we did that. The next year, 200 people signed up, because now they're coming on looking at the cooking video, but oh wow, he does a horse training thing. We're going to check that out. That was a success. I took that same mentality and took it to what I do now. Remember Bob Ross. He didn't do it for ASMR. He did it to teach you painting.